to the question of corruption. You must tell us how you're going to deal with the aspect of corruption so that there is equity in distribution of jobs, so that there is fairness in the manner we actually procure, and so that there is no nepotism. That now, because it is Mutua in this Ministry of Labor, it is only people from your region who will have to go to take these jobs in the US or in Germany. I think that is my concern. Once we address that as a country, then I can assure you we will not have young people in the streets. Thank you.
Caleb.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have 3 questions, but I'll ask one. If I get an opportunity later, I'll ask the other 2.
I'll allow you to.
Okay. Now, Mr. Speaker, I think I have vetted the nominee before, and of course, as a member of the Committee of Defense and Foreign Relations, we have interacted a lot. And I'm not going to vet you based on what you're going to do. I'm now going to look at your history. You've said that you've worked in government for 20 years. And I want to give you some of the excerpts from what you've said in public while serving in those offices. When you were the spokesperson of Kibaki regime, their press conference and pronouncement you made on Oscar Foundation, 2 hours later the officials were killed, assassinated. It gave the regime a bad name. Whether it was true or not, the pronouncement gave the regime a bad name. In the same regime, you also pronounced yourself to the visiting senator, Senator Obama, as a very small man that we should not bother about. He later became the president of the United States of America. It also gave your regime a bad name. Later on, you also said that you want to rejuvenate the entertainment industry. And you started a Cobra Squad as one of the things that you knew this one is going to revitalize the arts and the music industry. It performed poorly and later disappeared from the screen. In the same regime, you also, during the Kazi kwa Vijana initiative, you said that all the old trees in town must be cut and instead replaced with flowers to beautify Nairobi. Something that did not go on well with the environmentalists and the champions of tree planting. When you become the governor of Machakos, you started a program called Chap Chap, Maendeleo Chap Chap, bought ambulances and all that. Most of those programs flopped, and nothing much came out of it. You actually turned it into a party called Maendeleo Chap Chap instead of the Maendeleo itself. Later on, during the stint as a governor, you once visited the State House with the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and you confessed that
be fair to him, it was not a stint. He served 2 terms.
Yes, 2 terms.
Yes.
So around that time, you visited State House with the Right Honorable Raila Odinga in a state event, and you said the president now serving, who was then the deputy president, squeezed your hand very hardly and painfully. You even reported to the Kilimani police station. Nothing came out of that case. Recently, as a Minister for Foreign Affairs, on an X, what is now called X, it was called then Twitter, when Turkey had a devastating earthquake where thousands of lives were lost, you promised on the behalf of the Kenyan government that food and the medicine will be donated to that country. Right now, even the officials of Kenya in Turkey are embarrassed to face the government there because nothing was delivered. And it has embarrassed this country forever in terms of Turkey and the Kenya relationship. And lastly, where you just came from, as a Minister for Tourism, you said that all tourists arriving here must plant trees, and they'll even have a fee on it to buy the local seedlings. Something that we don't know whether it was passed by the cabinet, where it was a road declaration. This one puts a lot of skeleton in your closet. What do you say about it?
Mishi?
Yeah, thank you, Honorable
Mishi,
Chairman.
you hold, I think that's quite a mouthful. Let's have those two. We have had, it's three, yes. Dawood, Mary, and Amisi's charge sheet.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So let me start with Honorable Dawood. Just to clarify on the figures, is that there were Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife, especially the Department of Wildlife, through KWS, were advertising for tenders that are being given at an approximately 3 million shillings a kilometer, which means when you have 300 million as an allocation, you only have 100 kilometers. And by bringing it down to 850, instead of 100 kilometers, we're able to get 352 kilometers of fencing. And that saves money for Wananchi. About the jobs, and I'm glad because you were there during that meeting when the president talked about compensation to people. We started the process, and one of the challenges that we face in this country is bureaucracy. The president gives directives, and then they are caught in the annals of bureaucracy, treasury, through the systems going on. The process had started, and I hope it will continue. We did not meet the target because of the normal bureaucracies of getting money from here to go here, even though the money is there, but it is something that will be carried out. It's, I like the fact that you discussed the various disability and the challenges that are there, and especially in ensuring that people are given the rights they deserve. Mr. Speaker, we give you an example. I'll never forget this. During the campaign period, I accompanied His Excellency the President, then he was the Deputy President and a candidate, on an economic forum that was held at Racecourse with members of people living with disabilities. And one lady spoke about the challenges she faces as an employee because her child has autism, and the problem she faces because she can't even take time off for some of the things that need to be done to take care of that child, and the lack of support systems, and the challenges that our people living with disabilities go through. And it was quite sad because I remember when the president stood to speak, he, for about 2 minutes, could not speak. His voice was choking. And he promised that people will not, in this country, go through the challenges they go through just because your child is disabled or you're facing a form of disability. And my mandate, if approved and appointed and sworn in, is to ensure that that promise that the president gave, that I vividly remember, is enacted. And I think we will have done our job making sure that people live well. When I was the government of Machakos, I was, I think, the only governor who enacted the Disability Act by declaring that no building constructed in Machakos or operating in Machakos could operate without, places where would be comfortable for the disabled, for example, with ramps and others. And we shut down buildings. We shut down supermarkets until they build those ramps. I want to even take it further. I'll even have my own rules, like the Michuki rules, showing people occupational health hazards, disability, things that needs to be done. When somebody is hard of seeing and they go into a building with lifts, including Parliament, why do they need somebody to come and help them identify which number? If you go to London, you go to Australia, even go to South Africa, the numbers on the keypads of pushing the buttons for a lift have braille. And so we need to standardize some of these issues so that the disabled can also live a good life. I want to reply to Madam Amisi, and I totally agree with her.
You know, he has not answered one question, and you know, he talked about the wildlife compensation bureaucracy. I want to put it to him, he's part of that bureaucracy, which he has not told us how much did he manage within the 60 days His Excellency gave him. And he's not talked about the job centers as well.
I mean, how many did you pay in the time you are in tourism?
In tourism, we processed and we have paid close to 1 billion shillings. The pending human wildlife compensation that is there from the 2015, 2020, we're looking at about 7 billion shillings that need to be paid. And you know, you pay according to the exchequer that you receive and the clearances that are given through the exchequer.
Paid $1 million.
We paid $1 billion.
$1 billion.
$1 billion shillings, and the paying is still ongoing, and the process are going. And I've been able to streamline. And what we've done is that we've put together a scheme service, and we got a scheme administrator. So it's not just the government officials sitting down with paperwork. Who now, when there's a human-wildlife conflict, we've even bought motorcycles for people to be able to visit the homes, take the documents digitally, and those are captured digitally, so that there's no paperwork that has to go to the chief and all the process that takes 6 months, so that the payment schedule is there waiting for the payment. And that's where we are. About the job linkages, is that, as I answered earlier on, Mheshimiwa Ishungwa, is to connect the people through proper communication and teaching people on how to do it. But also, let me take this opportunity to talk about that we are not just about sending jobs people to go overseas. We want to bring jobs here. And outsourcing of jobs is an opportunity. Today, in the world, when you talk about labor migration, Philippines is leading. But from my research, Philippines is no longer sending people overseas, but more people are getting jobs in Philippines, within Philippines grounds, by BPOs, you know? And we are going to, and I'm going to push, if I'm confirmed, to get more companies to bring their outsourcing to Kenya for accounting services, for telemedicine services, for telephony services, so that people can work from here for overseas firms, but in Kenya. And that can just be as many people as the ones that we are sending people overseas to work. So it's an area that I'm quite committed. Mheshimiwa Amisi had a very good point, and that is clearly that when Kenya Kwanza was campaigning, remember the slogan by yours truly, Mheshimiwa Speaker, that mtoto wa maskini na tajiri watakaa kwa meza moja. It is not just about who knows who in our country. And that is the system that we want to put into place. And the high unemployment that we have here is also based on skill development, because you need at times to retrain yourself to the market. You've studied to be an engineer, and there's a finite number of employment opportunities for engineering. And if they're not there, they're not there. And so at times we need to show people how they can restudy and get new skills to add on to the skills that they have, and also how to be able to diversify. And so the area of skill development is very key. For example, the issue of languages. Opportunities arise with languages. And one of the things that I'm going to push is for our TVETs and our skill development, so that as you learn to be an electrician, you're also learning a foreign language, German. You know, you're learning Spanish, you're learning Italian, so that by the time you're done and there's an opportunity in those foreign countries, you go and plug and play. At least you've got basic understanding of those languages. But also, we need to train people for ways they can get jobs. For example, Canada, when we had a discussion, had specifically said that for them, for plumbers or electricians, there are basic minimums that people need to have, certain ways of doing things, so that we have our curriculum based on the market. When I was served as the Minister of Tourism and Wildlife, I started changing the way utalii works. Because utalii has been churning people out with the same skills that they had from the 1970s and 80s. Vile unapanga kitambaa, vijiko, the way you cook is the 70s and 80s. The world has changed. So that now the market tells you these are the new international standards. So that when people leave utalii college, for example, or leave any TVET, they don't have to be retrained to work anywhere. So that it's plug and play. So that is very important. Now let me come to the issue of corruption. And I have always been known to be very fair in terms of work and labor. And I'm going to ensure, like what our president has told us, that you do not nominate me to be a cabinet secretary if approved of Ukambani or Machakos, where I come from, but a cabinet secretary of the entire country. Because nobody sends a postcard to be born from Luya land, or from Kisii land, or from Turkana, or from Kiambu, or from Coast. Nobody sends a postcard to God. It's where you're born. And you have a right to receive government services properly without fear and favor. And it's the same way in terms of opportunities for jobs across the entire. So I'm going to work with my colleagues, and our president has been at the forefront of this, and if I'm getting an opportunity to join his cabinet, we're going to push this to ensure that there's equity in terms of people getting opportunities, especially also people suffering with disabilities, and also our young men and women who can work. Honorable Caleb, Mheshimiwa Speaker, has made quite a few allegations, and I'm going to answer them one by one. And it's unfortunate that most of them are basic propaganda, but I'm going to prove so. Number one, the Oscar Foundation issue that happened was quite unfortunate. Yes, Mr. Speaker.
But it doesn't come at the end. As a Kenyan who has sent a message that you took the former president of Machakos to launch a modern Dubai-like city. He's asking me to ask you, where is it?
Thank you. The Oscar Foundation issue, we had a security meeting in the morning, and I want this to go on record, and led by the head of public service then, police commissioner and others, as the government spokesperson, and we agreed that this was a statement that was going to be issued. The president was briefed. I issued the statement because the legal practitioner and I think the DPP was preparing documents to be able to arrest and take them to court. Later on, after that statement, we heard about the murder or the shooting right outside Parliament of the people that we had also mentioned. So it was pretty unfortunate, and I had nothing to do with it. I was doing my job as agreed in a proper government system. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, you have traveled to the US, and like all houses of Parliament and Senate, when you go in as a freshman, and then you're a sophomore, and then you're a junior, and then you're a senior. So you start in the US system as a sophomore, you start at the bottom, and you work your way up, so you become now a senior senator, a senior document. So when we got the letter from the American embassy about former President Obama coming to Kenya, the title was the junior senator of Illinois, which in the US is actually a positive. It means you're not a freshman, you're not a sophomore, and that you're nearly a senior, that you have graduated, you're actually high in rank. You're not a junior. You're not, you know what I mean? So you're the junior senator, and that's the American system. And I studied in the US myself, and that's a system even when you enter university. You're a freshman, a sophomore, a junior, and a senior. And so when we issued a statement referring to the letter of the Americans talking about the junior senator of Illinois who visited, you look at my statement, that is how we were mentioning his title. And that is the title he had. It was nothing to do with demeaning Obama, who we believed in. It had nothing to do with the comments. It said it was basically his title. You are a majority leader, you're a speaker, you're a minority leader. That's how it's a title that he had at that particular time. Number three, you asked about Cobra Squad. Cobra Squad was a personal initiative, very successful. I want to say that I bought my house in Nairobi with proceeds from Cobra Squad, and went on to produce many other shows like Beba Beba, which I think you've seen it, and many other shows that my company still produce and do other things. And Cobra Squad was very successful, even across Africa. Even today, I still get royalties from it being shown in Zambia, Tanzania, and many other countries. During our second season, after the end of our second season, one of our main actors unfortunately died in the fire that engulfed the former Nakumat that was at Moi Avenue. And it was felt that we could not continue with the third season after that tragedy. And that is how we stopped Cobra Squad, out of respect for the death of one of our workers. So, Mheshimiwa Caleb, it was not a failure, it was a success, big success. But also we are people with a heart. About Kazi kwa Vijana and the tree planting and the organization, I took the former town clerk, Gakuo, together with some colleagues to Dubai to look at how to beautify our country and the national parks. And I remember spending so much time planting trees in the streets of Nairobi. I even count some of the trees I personally planted right here on Harambee Avenue and over here. And we started an initiative to plant trees and beautify. Now, a decision was made that there will be an expressway, the existing expressway that is there, and that the trees on Uhuru Highway, because the expressway was going to pass on top, had to be removed to allow for the expressway, and so that we have short bushes and brushes. And that was what was going on. It had nothing to do with cutting down the environment. We were planting many more trees and reorganizing many other things. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to go on record.
Something. Just a small point of order. You said you went to Dubai to see how to beautify a city. Dubai doesn't have any trees. It's a concrete jungle. So how did you learn that from Dubai?
We found that in Dubai, they have one of the best parks in the world with very big trees and amazing flowers and beauty that you can't believe it grows in a desert. And the challenge was, if it can grow in a desert, if this can grow in a desert, if you've been to Dubai, you've seen, you know, what they're able to do with the trees on the sideline, the palm trees and the forest, then you understand if you can do it in a desert, what about in a place where it rains more than the desert? And that was the lesson that was learned. Now, when it comes to my success in Machakos, I bought ambulances in Machakos that cut down the time it took from a person from being taken to hospital from the half an hour to 2 hours on a boda to 1 to 2 to 3 minutes. When you call an ambulance in Machakos during my tenure, it took 3 to 5 minutes. We had one of the fastest, if not the fastest, response rate in the continent of Africa. Very successful. And it was so successful that I was even given an award in Africa as the best governor in the continent of Africa. And the ambulances are still there in Machakos. And they are extremely successful. And the health system that I set up in Machakos, including building the first cancer ward, the cancer center, which treated people free of charge when you have cancer, to show that you don't have to have money to continue, has been quite successful. My track record in Machakos is known all over this country. And all you need to do is just visit Machakos when I was governor. And you could see the things that we did, the roads that we built, the markets that we established, the stadiums that we put together, and you'll be able to see the track record. There are naysayers, people in the opposite.
Yes, Nelson.
I don't know what's happening with Honorable Mbui and Honorable Mule. Is it something they know? Because they are laughing sheepishly.
Why are you giggling?
Or politics of Ukabani.
Mr. Speaker, I didn't want to make any comment, but I was member of Parliament of Kadhiani, which is in Machakos, when the Honorable Mutua was governor. And I mean, this is sounding like a movie.
Mr. Speaker, you know,
Go on.
When I worked
from where you left.
Yes, when I worked in Machakos, I did amazing things like build the People's Park, the ambulances, and there was a big opposition. And because I was talking and doing things that they only see in movies, they even started calling me Mtu wa Cinema because they only see it in movies. And the people of Machakos were so happy, regardless of their campaigning against me, that they re-elected me for a second term. Very, very successful. And I beat them hands down, actually. And so I would challenge, Mr. Speaker, the people of Machakos who benefited. In actual fact, Mr. Speaker, there's a small problem happening in Machakos right now. And that is that I was approached by the officer in charge of registration when I was completing my term and said that there's going to be a problem because a lot of children being born in Machakos are now called Alfred Mutua. But I said they are not mine. And they said it's because most of them now are born in ambulances that you put into place. Because before, in Machakos now you don't find children called Nzilani because they're born by the side of the road, you know, or others, because now people have that dignity. Moving on to the question of the squeezing of my hand, Mheshimiwa Ruto later introduced me to Mheshimiwa Nyonyi from Wanyama, who I felt his grip of the hand, and I realized it was not actually squeezing of there's a person who can really squeeze the blood out of your hands. And it was put during the political times. It was a political move at the time. Now about Turkey, I'm surprised by the comments made by...
It is not called Turkey, it's Turkey. It's only written Turkey, but it's pronounced Turkey.
Thank you.
That is the name of the country.
Thank you.
I believe you meant the country of Istanbul and Ankara.
Yes.
It's called Turkey in English, Turkey in Arabic.
Yeah, that's the country.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand guided.
Yeah.
It is only that lately they have been
and
trying
if you
to
hand
push for
Kiswahili,
that.
it's called Uturuki.
Uturuki.
Yes.
So Turkey, Uturuki, Turkey, depending on who is mentioning it from their end. I met and the ambassador who came, and we galvanized support for Turkey. And even we involved different government agencies for Turkey. Sorry, we've been calling it Turkey, for Turkey. So I'm surprised saying that our officers are embarrassed, yet we are able to work with them. Even our president issued his condolences and talked of the support that we are working. We've been worked very well with the ambassador from Turkey. I'll be surprised, even the ambassador will be surprised to hear of such. When I talked about all tourists planting trees, we said tourists will be given an opportunity, and to urge the hotels that when
because it is a matter that was in public domain and it came directly from the minister's handle, you could maybe explain how you delivered the goods, because according to them, nothing came. They are embarrassed to see the king. There is always everybody who promised delivered except Kenya. And it has put our nation at a very embarrassing position because of your comment.
Mean the food to Turkey?
Mr. Speaker, if I remember right, we even were able to galvanize blankets and rice and other items that were sent. So I'll look into it to find out where Honorable Caleb is receiving that information from. It's a surprise to me. I'm hearing it for the first time from him, because I've not heard of any complaints, and we worked very well as a government to help our brothers and sisters who have also always stood with us. And H is that tourists to plant trees. We issued and we say that we are going to encourage tourists coming to our country and hotels. And I had a meeting with the stakeholders to be given an opportunity to plant trees, and even came up with a formula which they have actually been using, where you are asked when you come in, do you want to add 20 shillings to your bill, so that that 20 or 50 shillings is for a tree where you can plant, and they can show you to plant. And that is something that now is starting to take traction as it continues.
So it was not physical planting of trees, it was fundraising for tree planting. It was
fundraising for tree planting, and for the ones who want to plant trees, we had even designated an area at Nairobi National Park where people could go and plant trees, because some of them are so keen on the environment to go and plant. And the idea was to showcase where Kenya is in terms of environmental protection. It's an opportunity for people, and many people are very happy to be given that opportunity. And I know, honorable members, you've gone to places where after you make a payment, they ask you, do you want to add 50 shillings for this? Do you want to add 70 shillings for this? So it was that opportunity to be able to serve.
Point of order.
And lastly,
was that money accounted for?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask, Speaker. When you said fundraise, was it an approved cabinet decision? And if it was, how much has been raised up to now?
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, not fundraise, but be able to give people an opportunity. For example, if you come to a hotel and the hotel tells you, we have seedlings for you to be able to plant a tree. The seedling costs 50 shillings. Whether you can plant a tree or somebody plants a tree, do you want to contribute to it? You say no, that's it. You say yes, then you ask, do you want to be able to go and plant the tree, or do you want the hotel to plant the tree? So it's all about, and the government has been collecting numbers. It will be continue collecting numbers from all stakeholders who have engaged in tree planting.
It's like the little change you throw in a basket in a supermarket? something like that.
So, yeah, but you're given an opportunity to say, yes, I want to be able to plant a tree myself. And many people opt to say, well, I don't have time to plant the trees, but can somebody else from the hotel plant the trees? And the hotels will be able to galvanize and say, as a hotel industry, we have planted these trees. And this is something we had agreed with the industry. So it was not just me speaking, it was about an agreement with the industry. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, and I let it go on record here, because many dreams of our Kenyans are destroyed by selfishness of leaders. And forgive me for saying this. When we came up with a program of Machakos New City, we brought investors who signed MOUs worth 2.1 trillion shillings to bring investment not just in Machakos but across the country, using Machakos land that was available and other systems. And we started the process. Mheshimiwa Johnston Muthama and the Wiper Party went to court and got an injunction against us.
Point of order, Chairman. Point of order, Chairman. Because he's just named my party.
Let him finish.
He just mentioned my party.
I'll give you an opportunity.
Oh.
Let him finish what... And I want... go on, nominee.
They went to court and put an injunction, and an injunction was issued by court that we cannot proceed with that program until the court rules otherwise. The court took 5 years. Justice delayed is justice denied. Despite that, we were able to continue. And when the court ruled, and remember it was Justice